Hello, my name is Dr. Bob Saul, or some people refer to me as Dr. Bob. I'm a physician, a pediatrician, and medical geneticist, father, grandfather, husband, and a citizen. I'm here to be a part of the beloved 7-day experience for the Cornelius Stephanie Media Group. And today we're going to wrap up this 3-month series on Conscious Parenting Saturdays. I'm glad you've been here. And I just want to recap today sort of what I've been trying to talk about the last 3 months. Let me lead off by defining conscious parenting. Again, conscious parenting is the conscious awareness of the learned ability of parents to understand their interactions with their children and to alter their responses to maximize positive responses and to minimize negative responses. I've talked about that there's 3 significant components to conscious parenting. One is learning about your own reactions, your own feelings, your own emotions in certain circumstances, and learning the developmental stages of your children. Without the latter, this won't work. You need to understand what children are going through at every age, from 0 to when they leave the nest and even beyond. So learning is critical. Understanding then the dynamics of these reactions, these interactions, and how they're at play is also important. And then the ability to change, the ability to alter responses accordingly. So learning, understanding, and altering. How did I get there? How did I get to this point where I'm here promoting conscious parenting as a pediatrician? Well, it really started back in 1993 when I heard a talk from a prominent healthcare futurist who said that for anything that happened in your community, I am the problem, I am the solution, I am the resource. And what he meant was that everything should be my problem, that I need to if I want to advance what's happening in my community, I need to understand that I need to have a personal interest and a responsibility for things. If I want to be part of the solution, I want to be part of the solution. And to do that, I need to devote my resources. So those 12 words, I am the problem, I am the solution, I am the resource, set me off on a now 30-year journey, is to figure out how I can be a better citizen and how I can help others promote that. Because I think, and I'll jump to the almost to the conclusion here right away. I think one of the primary goals of parenting is for children to be raised as good citizens. Parents often I just want my child to be happy. And I do too. I want my children to be happy. But I think the primary way to get there is to raise them to be good citizens. And then happiness is a blissful secondary side effect. As I started on this journey, it was punctuated back in 1999 with the Columbine experience. 2 teenagers walked into a high school, massacred 13 people, killed themselves. And I asked the question, how could that happen? Could that happen in my community? And the answer was yes. Have I done enough to help prevent that? Have I done enough personally to help prevent that? And the answer was, I think, no. So I sat down and wrote down what I thought were the 5 steps to community improvement. Learn to be the best parent you could be. Get involved. Stay involved. Love for others and forgiveness. And those are all interrelated, but I think one of the most important ones is the latter one, forgiveness. Learning how to forgive yourself, learning how to forgive others, and doing it now. That then took me to a stage in my career, late in my career, in 2013, where I was working at a hospital system where I took a course called Conscious Leadership. Conscious leadership, and I simplify tremendously, talks about being conscious of where you are as a leader. And they talk about a line. And when you're above the line, you're open, you're receptive, you're ready to learn. When you're below the line, you're closed, you're defensive, you're always right. And the point is, we will be above and below the line. But if we're conscious about where we are And if we're conscious that we're below the line, we can start to make some changes as to get above the line to be more attuned to what's happening. I think the same thing absolutely positively translates to parenting. And I've set up what I call the parental awareness threshold. When you're above the parental awareness threshold, you're open, you're receptive, you're ready to learn, you're listening intently to your children, and you're interacting. When you're below the parental awareness threshold, you're closed, you're defensive, you're right because I said so, because I'm the parent. And I think the point is to try to be above the parental awareness threshold as much as you can. Now, have I ever been below the parental awareness threshold? Absolutely. I think I'm getting better. It will never be nirvana for me. It'll never be utopia. But if I can exercise this conscious parenting, I can do better this day and the next. And that's what I'm trying to do. Now, how does one exercise? How does one become a conscious parent? And I've talked about 3 steps. Very simple steps, but tough to do sometimes in very emotional situations. For any behavioral situation you find yourself in, pause. Knee-jerk reactions are very rarely helpful unless it's a life-threatening situation, and then it's very helpful. And if your child bolts from you at the corner of the and runs out into the street, absolutely, you're not going to pause. You're going to take a intervention for a potential life-threatening situation. But for most situations, you can pause. You can assess the situation and choose a response that hopefully makes sense. Now, a lot of the times when we recognize that we made the wrong choice. So hopefully, if in the moment we can't make the right choice, in retrospect, we can review what we've done, how we responded, and what we can do differently. So when we pause, assess, and choose, that sort of is a process that you do it in the moment. And sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not, but you definitely want to do it in retrospect. How could I have done better to have made a more positive difference in my child's life? And one of the critical steps there is forgiveness. If you did wrong, if you recognize that, I think it's so important to acknowledge that to yourself, to your child, and move on. And I'll use a very personal example that I've used before. But when my youngest son was 7 or 8, he did something one night that angered me, and I yelled at him. He just turned into a puddle and walked away. My wife got mad at me for yelling at him, and we went into that family meltdown mode where nobody talks for several hours. Later that night, when I was putting my son to bed, I said, "Son, I'm sorry. I think you did something wrong, but your dad's response was very inappropriate, and I want to apologize. I was wrong." And I went on to elaborate, and he said, "Dad, would you be quiet?" I said, "Why?" He said, "I hate it when you're nice." Now, I'm not relating that story to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying in retrospect, I was able to acknowledge that I was wrong and to do better going forward. So I think that's very important. Again, that sets up the whole concept of citizenship. Citizens take care of each other. Citizens care about each other. Citizens care for each other. And that's what parents and children should be doing. And that's what we as citizens should be doing. So I think the whole point of conscious parenting, again, is to be raising our children to be good citizens. We've lost track in our society of the concept of citizenship. We yell at each other, we yell past each other, but we don't listen. We're not conscious citizens in this journey that we're on. So I hope these comments have been helpful. I would encourage you to consider buying the book, Conscious Parenting. It's an easy read, but one I think you will go back to several times to be helpful tidbits about this parenting journey that we're all on. Thank you for listening to this series, and I hope you all have a blessed day and a beautiful week ahead. Thank you so much.